Good evening. This is a Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting. Meeting be now called to order. This is Wednesday, January the 17th. I'm the Chair, Council Member Xanthia Alba for the 3rd District. At this time, I will call the rolls for those members of the committee. Vice Chair, Councilman Vince White.
Present.
Councilmember Latrice Bracy.
Present.
Councilmember Nathan Field.
Present.
Councilmember Brigida Fields.
Present.
Councilmember James Spadola.
Present.
Councilmember President Trippy Congo. As a friendly reminder, the members of committee should be making motions and seconding. Only members of the committee. Okay, we're going to move this agenda around a little bit tonight. We're going to start with the presentation of the Brandywine Dam. Do we have any other council members that's not part of the committee on the screen? No? Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, we're going to move if anybody wants to copy the agenda, it's over in the corner. We're going to move right to the presentation of the Dam 6. I want to make a note that that's all we're going to be discussing tonight. That's the only thing on the agenda. We will not be talking about 4 or 5. They will take place, I guess, at a later time. Tonight, the only things on the agenda is Dam 6. So please keep your remarks pertaining to Dam 6, okay? Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman.
If you want to have a seat, you can for your presentation.
No, I'll stand. It's fine. Excuse me. Yeah, so I'm here today representing the Brandywine River Restoration Trust, supporting the resolution for a temporary easement for the removal of Dam 6. Slide, please. I'm going to cover 3 things real quick. Just a little background for people who are not familiar with us. Talking about the benefits of dam removal, and then specifically the easement for removal of Dam 6. Slide. Our mission is to restore and protect the Brandywine River, to enable the migration of American shad, and, very importantly, improve the ecological function of the entire river, while at the same time providing an equitable opportunity for environmental education and recreation for the citizens of Wilmington. Slide. Our founding members include the University of Delaware Water Resources Center, the Hagley Museum and Library, and the Brandywine Conservancy. The Brandywine Conservancy actually initiated this program way back in 2005. We are honored to be able to continue with their legacy and move it forward to the next steps. Slide. We work with many partners on this project. It's a very complex project. It's very sophisticated with a lot of highly trained expertise people involved, including the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, which oversees the entire project, DENREC, which also is extremely involved, and the Delaware Division of Fish and Wildlife, State Parks, the City of Wilmington, and a host of other nonprofit environmental organizations who are also in support of this mission. Slide. We also enjoy financial support from a number of prominent sponsors in our community, including the DuPont Corporation, Chemours, M&T, Discover Bank, CSC, WSFS, Walmart, and the United States Department of Agriculture. Thanking them. Slide, please. For those who don't know, the Brandywine watershed is actually very large. Most of it's actually up in the state of Pennsylvania, and because of that, an awful lot of water flows down. It's like a big funnel. It flows down from Pennsylvania and right through our community as well. On the right-hand side, you see the picture of the 11 dams that are on the Brandywine that were built in the 1700s and the 1800s, none of which provide any functional purpose apart from dam number 2, which helps to supply the water to the city of Wilmington. Slide. Flooding on the Brandywine has been an issue for centuries. Brandywine dams increase flood levels. Some dams are built to decrease flooding. these dams increase flood levels. And I think we all know flooding is becoming more and more frequent due to climate change. Just in the last 2 weeks, we've had two severe events. And importantly, removing these dams is part of a multi-year, multi-agency effort to reduce flooding. Brandywine River Restoration Trust is just one of the many organizations, including the Brandywine Conservancy, the City of Wilmington, that are taking efforts to mitigate the flooding up and down the river, and particularly down here in Wilmington. Slide. I just want to show pictorially what this looks like for people, because sometimes we read about and we hear about it, but we don't really experience it. So real quickly, this is from Hurricane Ida in September 2nd, actually 2021, sorry about that. Here's way up at the top is Dam 11, Rockford Falls condos flooded 7 feet into their units. Next slide. Dam 5, Brandywine Falls, where there is a source of a number of people who are concerned about potential dam removal, also flooded with Hurricane Ida. Next slide. Bancroft Mills, Alapocas Bridge, just downstream from the Brandywine Falls Homeowners Association, was ruined. That's going to cost several millions of dollars to replace that. Take a couple years to deprive the citizens of the ability to enjoy the park. Next slide. Dam 4, the Falls Apartments, just recently built, also flooded. Work by the University of Delaware Resources Center has proven that had Dam 4 not been there, is that flooding in their lower level would not have occurred. Slide. Just down from there, 3 Mill Road, the office building, their parking lot flooded at the same time. Slide. This is south of Market Street, the Superfine Lane condos on your right. They all flooded as well, and there was flooding in the waterworks on the left-hand side. You can see the water way up during that flood. Next slide. And down at the very bottom, we have northeast Wilmington, where all this water ends up eventually. We had severe flooding. Over 200 people were displaced from their homes, many of whom have yet to return. Got another picture of that. Next slide. People being rescued. And next slide. And there's a video here. This is just taken 2 weeks ago, less than a week ago. I think there's a video there. Are you guys able to run that? Guess not. Guess not. Well, you sort of get the picture. Those are picnic benches there. That's where we have our annual Shad Fest with 1,500 people, and flooded again just with a run-of-the-mill rainstorm last week. Next slide. So, talking about Dam 6, there's a lot of talk here. There's a lot of people who are concerned about Dam 5, Dam 4, where we also remember that what we're here about today is about Dam 6. This dam is also known as the DuPont Experimental Station, half owned by the city, half owned by DuPont Corporation. It has flooded the experimental station down the river numerous times. In conjunction with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, DENREC, and the City of Wilmington, the plans have been made and the work has been done to be able to remove that dam in the first quarter of next year. And thankfully, it is funded by the DuPont Corporation, partially in the state, and some other private foundations. That's Dam 6. Next slide. Again, this easement is for Dam 6, not for Dam 4 or Dam 5.
Excuse me, I just received a message that the audio for the meeting is now available in the chambers if anybody wishes to go there. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Next slide, please. The benefits of removing dams are extensive. We've been talking about reducing flooding here, which is one of the major issues that's going on. But let me be clear, the work that we're doing is not going to solve all the flooding in the city of Wilmington or in the Brandywine River. We are part of a multi-agency, multi-group effort to reduce flooding on the Brandywine River, and that includes the Brandywine Conservancy and the City of Wilmington and the Coalition for Northeast of Wilmington and Northeast Rising, among others. So we're just part of the puzzle. But the other benefits are worth noting. is that it improves public safety. We've had numerous deaths at dams on the Brandywine, including at Dam 5 by the Brandywine Falls Homeowners Association. Very importantly, something that matters to a lot of people, some that doesn't matter much to others, is to restore a species of American shad known as America's founding fish. And along with this, increases ecological diversity up and down the food chain. You know, American eagles come and feed on shad. Shad bring up mussels up the river to create mussel colonies to clean the river. And that helps to improve the water quality, lowers the water temperature, and increases recreational use. Some people say that dams help recreational use. Well, in fact, we remove the dams, more fish, more opportunities for recreation, less people are going to die going over a decrepit dam. Next slide. Unfortunately, I don't have a video here. I don't know if you guys can make this video go, but I was just going to close with this because what this video shows is that every fall, thousands and thousands of American shad swim down the river. And the reason they're swimming down the river is because we removed one dam already. The city did. The city removed the first dam. And that's enabling American shad to migrate past where that dam would block them from spawning. And they're spawning past Dam 1, and they go out to the ocean right around Labor Day. If anybody wants to watch it, right around Labor Day, you'll see them, and they jump out of the water. I think you can see one little one there, but in the video, you would have hundreds of them here flowing down. And that's one of the big reasons I want to leave people with. We're trying to restore an entire ecology, and along with that, we get the benefit of dam reduction. So that concludes my remarks. Thank you for your support. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Shanahan. Next, we have Rich here.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I'll keep my remarks short. I think we're here primarily because I'm a general counsel for Cabana Management. My name is Richard Emge. We own the apartment building, which is adjacent to dam number 4, which I realize is not on the agenda this evening. However, we are interested in this matter because dam 4 and dam 6 were jointly permitted for demolition. We recently found out that there's actually an MOA that approved the demolition of Dam 4 and Dam 6. We are not supportive of those removal efforts. We don't feel that there's been adequate public participation in the permitting process. As you'll probably hear tonight, there are a number of community members who are just finding out about this dam removal project. If it hadn't been for City Council's recent resolution, it may not have ever reached the public mindset here. So what we're asking for tonight is, there's been a lot of claims made about flood mitigation, yet no real scientific evidence. What we'd like to do is see some of that evidence, have an opportunity for our engineers, some independent experts to have the opportunity to look at that evidence and review it and allow us to provide commentary. To date, we have not seen any actual evidence of what this flood mitigation will be. There are a lot of claims being made. Earlier today, I sent you a letter asking for a task force to be formed. We think it would make sense to have representatives of the Army Corps of Engineers, City of Wilmington, Wilmington City Council members, local community leaders involved to make it an open and transparent process. Because for the last year, this permitting process has been going on, and yet there's been no public input. And I think we can all acknowledge that there are a lot of competing factors here, many of which are important and need to be properly balanced. And unfortunately, with historic structures, once they're gone, they're gone. So we're asking you here to please help us create that public participation, form the task force, ask for a proper consideration of the historical importance of these dams. For instance, you may even hear that dam number 4 has a hole in it and presents a public threat. That dam's been under ownership by DNREC for over 6 years, and yet they've done nothing to preserve it. They've kind of gone through a process of demolition by neglect. I think, like you'll see and you'll hear from the public comments tonight. There needs to be a more open, transparent, and publicly available process. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to, I think Vince is on the line. I'm going to let Vince from Public Works speak first.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Vince Croce, Deputy Commissioner, Department of Public Works. As Mr. Shanahan has indicated in his presentation, the city has provided through our law department a letter of support of their efforts. The dam is half in the city limits and half outside the city limits on the DuPont property. As far as the city of Wilmington's water department is concerned, this dam serves no function or purpose in our water department and does not impact negatively impact our operations in any way. So that is why we were in support of BRRT's efforts to remove Dam 6.
Okay. Okay, you're going to be around for a minute?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next, we have someone here from Hagley Museum. Please feel free to have a seat. I want to reiterate, it was okay for the, presenter to mention 4 or 5 and Mr. Rich, but when you're coming up, we're not here for 4 or 5 tonight, so. I know people mentioned it, I know just in the presentation, but I just like to stick with on the agenda, which is Dam 6.
Well, and I'm not going to be speaking about that, so if you would prefer, I know I had sent my remarks to you.
Go ahead, you're
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
That's okay, you can speak.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Jill McKenzie. I'm the Executive Director of Hagley Museum and Library, and I'm here this evening to give some historical perspective to the Brandywine River. As we can all appreciate, the Brandywine has great historical significance for our country, where since colonial times, its dams provided water power for hundreds of mills, including flour, paper, slitting, linseed oil, snuff, textile, and of course the DuPont gunpowder mills, which are really the hallmark of Hagley Museum and Library. For example, Brandywine Superfine flour, for which Superfine Lane is named, provided sustenance for George Washington's troops at Valley Forge during the American Revolution. And by the 1880s, the Bancroft and Sons cotton mill was the largest cotton finishing mill in the country. And of course, the DuPont gunpowder mills, where black powder was manufactured, made a huge impact on our country, especially for westward expansion. The historic dams that now remain along the Brandywine are testament to Wilmington's important industrial past. Today, the river supports a vibrant cultural community, including Hagley Museum, one of our top tourist attractions. You may not know this, but Hagley regularly uses water from the Brandywine via our historical dams for an operating water power system that powers our modern electric shuttle bus, and also one of our historic buildings, an 1870s machine shop. So we are still using the water of the Brandywine via our dams. And it helps keep them off the electrical grid, which is really important to us. Because of our water power system, every visitor to Hagley is inspired to think about clean, green energy. As you may know, Hagley was one of the founding members of what is now the BRRT. At the time, the Hagley Board of Trustees supported them for their goal of studying the dams on the river to find the most responsible way to restore shad to the Brandywine while keeping our historic dams at Hagley intact. It was our understanding with them that this did not mean taking all the dams along the Brandywine down, but instead looking at them one at a time. And we trust that that is still going to happen. Hagley believes solutions can be found through open and sustained dialogue that will serve the greater good while preserving the history of the Brandywine River. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jim McKenzie. Is the Jim here? Oh, that's, oh, got it, okay. Okay, who would, sure.
Hi, thank you very much. And again, thanks for the pause.
Sure.
And
Please
thanks
state
for the
your name. State your
Hi,
name.
I'm Jim Carrington. I now live at the Falls, and I've been a past and will be a future resident of Brandywine Falls. And I think Dam 6 is a go. And what I'd like to comment on is just the process and the opportunity maybe for improvement for the community. All of this should have started with community engagement, in my view. Few people truly understand what we mean when we're saying dam removal. And it maybe scares them, and maybe that's our biggest obstacle. Your constituents matter, from Smithsbridge to Southbridge. 15+ neighborhoods sit along this common waterway. And wouldn't it be fantastic if somehow you brought those 15 neighborhoods together and talked about this cherished asset we call the Brandywine? The bikers, runners, walkers, kayakers, canoers, photographers, you've seen them all. And when you live on the river, you see it firsthand. Live on the river and you'll see what a diverse community it is. And we're so lucky it's accessible. I thought it was only California. But our greenways along the Brandywine River allow public access to everyone. And our top priority as a community, and many of them are here with me, would never have been the dams we never heard of, or the shad, the dams we never spoke of, and the shad we never heard of. The fish group and their lobbyists are a well-oiled machine. That does not equate to community engagement. And historic preservation, I'm not a dignified speaker like Jill or an institution like Hagley, but Hagley isn't removing their dams. And our team knows that. In the city of Wilmington, are you causing flooding? Because you have dam too. And you're not removing your dam. So the reality is we all want to think win-win, and let's get these fish ladders and let's get these fish up the river like we all want. So the third topic is shad restoration, and we're all for it. But did you know in 2005, there was a full, well-documented feasibility study on the internet, and we were going to do this, and they had wonderful alternative solutions. I know Joe would love them because the fishways had walk-through glass where kids could sit there and watch the fish coming
You
up
have
the
another
channel.
minute, sir.
All right. So we want to see a logical progression for the shad, if that's what our purpose is. We got dam 1 out. Great. Next step for us would be getting out dam 2 by putting a fish ladder in. We don't understand why we're talking about dam 6, why we're talking about dam 4 or 5. 2 is the next obstacle for the shad. And come up to the Brandywine the Falls location, sorry, I've lived in too many places, and look at the abandoned fish ladder right at dam 4. It sat there for decades. We look at it every day. The fish never got over dam 2. We can't make the same mistakes. And the way you avoid mistakes is the 5th point is measurement. Measurement. We got dam 1 out. Yes, we're seeing fish on a video, and if you look close, there's 1. We need numbers. We need statistics, and we need to say that shad are still surviving in the ocean. They're still coming upstream, and we can get them upstream, and then once we see those results, share them. We're all for it. Let's move up the river. Thank you for listening. I love to speak publicly, I'm sorry. But I do
Thank
really
you. Thank you
appreciate
so much.
everything everybody's trying to do in the community.
Thank-
And thanks for the opportunity.
Appreciate you. Next speaker, you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening, Council President, or Committee President Oliver. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. My name is Rob Snowberger, and I'm a resident of Brandywine Falls, living in number 10 Brandywine Falls. I'm here tonight not necessarily in opposition to the removal of Dam 6. I don't think even the biggest opponents in this room are much concerned about Dam 6. I think it's the fact that the process has been extremely non-transparent, and the fact that there was a dual demolition permit issued for 6 and 4 at the same time without public input is a significant problem. And so while my concern and the neighborhood that I live in's concern is mainly Dam 5, which is not being discussed tonight, I would hate to think what would happen if another non-transparent process happened. And I do applaud Brandywine Shad for many years of Shad Fest and for championing a cause which I think is actually wonderful. But all the years I've heard of Shadfest, I had no idea what the agenda was to come after dams, which I think are extremely important to the heritage of our community. I've traveled the world as a military member. I've served our nation twice in Iraq, and when I think about what's special about my hometown and where I'm from in the United States, it's the Brandywine River and the economic might that tiny little Delaware wielded, when we were the first Silicon Valley in the United States. I think that there's a historic aspect here to the dams that's extremely important, alongside of the wildlife issue. And the last reason that, and I certainly, I appreciate the historic aspect. The last thing I'll say before I give her the mic is, I'm in real estate development myself, and I've been through several public processes, in which case, you have to get folks who are most impacted to understand, what you're doing. And from what I could see and how I've been engaged, I saw people standing at this microphone last meeting calling me and my family rich people who want to stare at a dam, calling us, against communities of color because our dam is flooding communities that are miles away. I think these are extremely harsh language to speak about people you don't know, and people whose homes are actually impacted, not only economically, but I have a 7-year-old son and twin.
1 minute.
Thank you. I have a 7-year-old son and twin 5-year-old daughters, and just the fact that somebody is, calling them, those kind of things, thinking about the things that are right outside their door and they enjoy, is hurtful. And so I wanted to stand here to say I would hope that in the future the process could be transparent. It could be based on science and not just pictures of a 100-year flooding event showing how much flooding there is. That was a very abnormal event. Perhaps it gets worse from climate change, but the fact that dams are the cause of the problem has yet to be seen. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak tonight, and I will be back for dam number 5. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Sure.
Thank you.
You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Gerald Kaufman, Director, University of Delaware's Water Resources Center. I spoke before the holiday at the City Council. Good to see everybody. I'm glad to hear the exciting news that Dam 6 is a go. So that's a plus, because it is, like Jim said, a part of a larger initiative that began 20 years ago to restore the Brandywine, which is an essential resource for the city. It's sole source of drinking water. If the shad are coming back, that means it's good for us, that the water's clean up to drink. So, there's sentinels. My office is congressionally chartered. I mentioned this. We have a lot of flood data. If you need flood data, we have it. That data's been assembled by BRT, by their consultants. It's readily available for anyone who wants to look at it. I will state that, Dam 6, again, directly led to the flooding of the experimental station. That's a fact that we observed during Ida, and we can improve it with our analysis and our mapping. I even hesitate to bring up Dam 4 actually tonight,
No,
but
we're
since
not-
it was mentioned,
Yeah, we're going to talk about Dam
yeah,
6, please.
Dam 4 has a
Dam
big
6.
Dam 6 just
Yeah, we're just talking about Dam, if you don't mind.
okay. Can I
So
speak
sorry.
about Dam 4
I know.
or no?
No.
Okay,
6.
very good. I won't, but it should be looked at, and the owner was briefed about the condition of that dam several years ago during the pandemic. So I appreciate it. And I think the bright spot is that all the discussions here has brought the Brandywine before the public and before a democratically elected body like yours. And I think we're really fortunate to have these deliberations here in Wilmington. So I say thank you for that, and thank you to the people that just spoke, because it means to me that they're concerned about the Brandywine too, and that's a good thing. So appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker. Please state your name. You have 3 minutes. Thank you.
I'm Mary Jeanette, a resident of the Falls. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I grew up 2 blocks from there. Again, I'm not one of those rich people who only want to look out my window at the view. In fact, this is the 3rd time I've resided along the Brandywine, first at Bancroft Mills, later Brandywine Park, and now the Falls. This is where I grew up. For me, there is a sentimental attachment to this beautiful area. I also come from a DuPont family. Between my dad and I, we worked 70 years, nearly 70 years at the experimental station. There's a lot of history and a lot of love for the Brandywine and the entire surrounding area. At the last meeting, someone mentioned the word respect as the meeting was starting. It's important for people to come to this microphone or to their Zoom microphones to respectfully submit ideas for consideration. Two speakers last month I felt lacked that respect. I noted this in the tone and tenor of their comments. It was easy to hear their frustration and even anger over the dam issue. But I felt it totally inappropriate for us to be told that we should be, quote, ashamed of ourselves. The Falls complex is just a little over a year old, so this topic is new to many of us. I heard two important rationales for Ordinance 0374. One was allowing shad to swim upstream again, and the other was flooding. In the last 6 years, I became active in two sustainability groups. We watched documentaries, read and discussed books, and heard noted national and international speakers. Climate change was a frequent topic. At an Earth Day festival last April, a neighbor's son was keynote speaker. He worked on climate change and environmental issues at the White House. I believe climate change is playing a major role in weather, not just in Wilmington, not just Delaware, not just the United States, but across the globe. I think it's unfair to blame Dam 6 or Dam 5 or any particular man-made structure as the sole cause of flooding. I also think it's even worse to become so frustrated and angry that your reasoning and rationale cannot be heard over your judgmental comments and aggressive tone. I felt it beneath contempt to bring into the conversation environmental racism, uneducated whites trying to harm blacks and people of color. Bringing race into the discussion will only incite anger and will probably not lead to resolution of this issue. Topics that are important and deserve study, debate, and change are being lost, literally floating down their own proverbial river. I hope as a group we can decide whether this is the way we want to move forward. In summary, I agree totally with previous Falls residents who spoke, preferring looking deeper into this issue, finding and discussing alternative solutions, and especially the transparency and including more discussion about the topics. Additional reading led me to the Mid-Atlantic Historic Buildings and Landscape Survey, particularly Phase 2, which states that dams 4, 5, and 6 are eligible for being named to the National Register of Historic Places. This might be something for the Falls to consider. It seemed highly unlikely that the shad would be able to get upstream since they will also have to go past the 3 dams on the Hagley property, which are also exempt from being removed.
Time up.
I thank you for the council for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker. Yep. State your name. You have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, Madam Chairman. My name is Veer Archibald. I am the site leader for the DuPont Experimental Station and the agent for the site and the owner of Dam 6. We are in support of the removal of Dam 6.
I'm sorry, could you state your name again? I didn't catch it.
My name is Veer
Veer.
Archibald.
Okay.
We're in support of removal of Dam 6 because we firmly believe that it's the main cause of previous flooding event that we had. But we're in support of and only concerned with the removal of Dam 6. We strongly encourage discussion around the removal of any and other individual dams. We support neighbors encouraging, speaking with Brandywine River Trust that we've been working with the last 4 years on this issue to discuss this, what the possible solutions are. But it is a situation that we monitor with every heavy rainfall, and we then have to spend significant sums of money with the corresponding cleanup. And so we strongly support the removal of Dam 6, but again, encourage dialogue on the remaining dams.
Thank you. Next speaker, you have 3 minutes, and please state your name.
Hi, my name is Ricky Delore, and I'm here from the Falls apartment community. I do realize that we're speaking specifically on dam number 6. That is great. I do just want to provide some facts. One of those was, yes, the falls did flood during Hurricane Ida, but the creek rose over 26 feet, and I would have been shocked if no one flooded during a storm of the century. That was actually the only time we did flood, and it was because we were under construction. Living near water has great reward, but it also does provide some risk. And I just as everybody else said today, transparency would be nice, discussion, kind discussion would be hopeful. But it's something that we're invested in, we want to learn more about, and we want to work together to try to resolve. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, you have 3 minutes, and state your name. Do we have anyone else from the public? Thank you.
Hello. Good evening. Joe DeLuca, about a 20-year Wilmington resident. but I am currently a resident of the Falls. And I work for CSC, and I call on exclusively on county governments in all 3,600 jurisdictions in the United States, and so I just appreciate your public service. What I would say, I know we're only talking about 6. My concern would start with 4. The only reason I would come up and speak to you tonight would be just because of precedent. I know how strong precedent is, and I'm sure somebody who's strongly speaking about 6 is thinking about this will be the precedent for dam removal down the road. So I would just make sure that you would think of that before making a final decision. And I'm not sure why it was said a couple times here. It said 6 is a go. Why, if 6 is a go, then why are we even having this meeting tonight? A couple people said 6 is a go. Is 6 a go, or is 6 still under consideration?
This is why we're here at the committee meeting.
Okay, all right, so it's not really a go, so it's still being considered. So that would be my biggest concern, just setting that first precedent, make sure that you're thinking everything through. You know, if these dams have been here a couple hundred years, I mean, shad really? Is it shad that we're really concerned about? Have the shad not figured something out in 200 years, like other species figure out how to survive when the earth changes? The flooding is a concern, and I would be, you know, I would feel for anybody that has to deal with flooding. Been in situations like that before, it's terrible. But certainly not on evidence that was presented tonight is there anything that says dams caused the flooding. And so I would just say to you all that, you know what, before you make any decision, you would say, are the dams really causing the flooding? Would anything change? I would hate if you would look back after the fact and nothing changed after dams were removed. I think restoring, preserving the history of this country is really important. It's really taken a backward step, I'd say, in these last few years. And I would just keep that in mind, that we want to preserve these things. I moved from a house that I owned here in Wilmington down to the Falls. What attracted me was the fact that it was the mill that was down there that was 200 years old, that was built with those falls that assisted that. And the place houses, you know, going to house some 500 people. All right, so as council members who operate off of the taxpayers' money, I don't think the shad are paying any taxpayer money. I think it's most important to keep these other things in mind about, you know, pleasing the will of the people, maybe not so much of the fish. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? Sure. You have,
James Bretzker.
okay, excuse me, you have 3 minutes and state your name, I'm sorry. First, I want to identify, we have Councilmember Darby online, I'm sorry.
Yeah, James Bretzker. I have been closely studying since at least 2020 dams being removed. The thing is that fish cannot just evolve in 200 years to go past dams. These are 10 feet high. They do go over rapids, but they cannot just go over a 10-foot high dam. And that's actually the first people who wanted to remove dams were the Lenni Lenape in 1720. Even though these dams are historic, the very first dams were built in the 18th century. There have also been dam removal attempts since the 18th century. It's nothing new, dam removal. And fish ladders and other alternatives are really rather weak because only about 5% of fish find their way up. The thing is that dams are so huge, and these fish are not going to go to a tiny little ladder on the side. What you mostly need is complete removal. It's only 5% are going to go up, and these shad bruise their noses on the dams. And again, we're talking specifically at dam number 6. I've been in that area. It's pretty isolated except for the experimental station. And I don't know why people care so much about it, because it should just be removed. And this easement today, once that is done, we can just remove it, because it does present a risk. It's an old concrete thing. It's been rebuilt many times. That's the thing with many of these dams. They might have originally been built in 1740 or 1850, but they've been rebuilt so many times they look nothing like dam number 4, like they used to. So, by removing dam number 6, we can create positive change for Wilmington. We all talk of helping the environment, and by voting for dam removal, you can make a difference. The only historical disrelevance dam has are the continued attempts to remove it. Why haven't we done so? There are many reasons to remove the dam that transcends aesthetics, which seems to be the only, albeit flimsy, reason put forth by opponents. Thank you for your time, committee members.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else from, sure, come up, state your name, you have 3 minutes. Is there anyone next door?
There is a list somewhere that we've all put our names on.
We have it.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jennifer Adkins, and I am a resident of Wilmington, and I do pay taxes. But I'm also the executive director of the Delaware Nature Society, which is a statewide environmental organization that focuses on connecting people to the natural world through education, conservation, and advocacy. I am here in support of the easement and the project to remove Dam 6. It does seem like there's a lot of confusion about that versus other parts of the project, which it seems to me there's plenty of opportunity for dialogue about those other things. I am really first of all, appreciating the opportunity to come speak today and appreciating the whole conversation. As some others have pointed out, this has obviously been a really educational process for a lot of people. And I think the opportunity to be heard and to look at all sides of it is a good thing. At the same time, I do understand the passion behind and a little bit of the frustration about not being able to move forward. I would say that the City of Wilmington has a great opportunity to be looking at these dams and removing them. I won't speak in detail about the conservation purposes behind that because the science is fairly well established on the need to remove dams. There's a movement across the country to do that. And we've heard a lot already about it's a safety concern. It is a flooding issue. Nobody is saying that taking this one dam out is going to solve all the flooding problems, but that it is part of the solution, as are many other things. And it is important for conservation, and it's not just about one particular fish. We're talking about a free-flowing river and returning a free-flowing river to more of its natural state. Those fish are important for other life, like mussels and other things, upstream that create a whole ecosystem that creates clean water that is the water that we drink. And so it's critical. It's much more connections than that, and just wanted to kind of say that.
1 minute.
I guess I also, in the interest of the conversation, would say that it doesn't seem to me like there's any reason why, under the circumstances, we'd have to stop the project that's underway in order to continue having more dialogue about other parts of the process. And I think that that is an important thing to do. I haven't heard anyone say that that shouldn't happen, and it seems like everyone appreciates that. But the opportunity is that the Brandywine River Restoration Trust, which our organization is a partner, has partnered with and has done a lot of outreach. Have we reached every single person? No, probably not. We need to keep doing that. But a lot of that has been done. A lot of money has been raised, and these are very complicated projects to get started once they've stopped, which is why they have stopped and started before. So it is important to keep some momentum, and so I do understand some of the frustration about that. So again, appreciate the opportunity to speak, urge that we can move forward on this project and also continue the dialogue. So thank you.
Thank you. We have several people online. The first one, we want to bring them in. Want to state the name, tell them 3 minutes. IT? IT? Can you see Kendra?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, state your name. You have 3 minutes.
Sure. My name is Jennifer Mensch, and I guess the one statement I would have is the Brandywine was there with no dams well before any of us, and before DuPont or any of that. That is the natural state. And just as the one gentleman had said, the Lenapes were, that was like a food source for them, and it depleted it and caused angst. So we're years and years into this of negatively affecting the environment. And there are byproducts of this, like flooding, that are exacerbating the situation. So I think, some of the statements made by opponents tonight really didn't hold water, no pun intended, but between not stating that they were engaged, there were numerous opportunities. I believe even Jim went to the Brandywine Falls to have a dialogue, and frankly, he wasn't, from what I gathered, met with open arms there. And there's been, open availability at the Rockford, at the Rockford Tower. There was a display. We've had multiple Shad Fests, so there's been ample opportunity to engage on this matter. So I don't understand. I'm befuddled by the lack of transparency comments. And I guess at the end of the day, I just feel like we need to look at the bigger picture, because we've got the scientific evidence. We've had these reputable folks on the phone speaking. There's been transparency there. And as the younger gentleman who was speaking as well, what is, like the elephant in the room, what is the real reason that we don't want to proceed? It seems like there's not a statement that is holding water that would override all of the benefits that we've been going over and over and over again. So it's just perplexing to me when we're trying to really make the city a better place for kids, where we've given kids lessons, we've handed out 300 fishing poles, we're getting more engagement. It's just really disheartening that we can't come together on this, and that folks are digging their heels in when there really doesn't feel like there's a solid rationale as to the pushback. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, okay, could you state your name, and you have 3 minutes, please? Hello, could you state your name, and you have 3 minutes?
Is that me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm Bob Herka. I live in the Highlands along Brandywine Creek, and I'm speaking tonight to voice my support of granting temporary construction easement to permit the proposed work at dam number 6. I also want to express my thanks to members of council in this committee for postponing their decision until now. The additional time gave me a chance to better understand the issues involved and to reach an informed opinion. The Brandywine Restoration Initiative is complex and involves many stakeholders. Brandywine Creek community is large and diverse. There are many people with many interests and perspectives. At each step of the overall project, it is critical for decision makers to be aware of how individual stakeholders may be impacted, so that the decisions taken are fully informed and consider the effect, either positive or negative, of each decision. The council and this committee have acted in this manner, and their careful consideration is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have someone else on the line. Could you please state your name? You have 3 minutes, please.
Hello, my name is Simeon Hahn. I'm a retired environmental scientist from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, where the National Marine Fisheries Service is. Couple points been mentioned. The Brandywine Creek is actually Brandywine Creek, not river, was free flowing for thousands and thousands of years. So that's important to put that into the context of history. It has been mentioned. The construction of dams caused a lot of negative impacts to Native people that lived here. That's well documented. Contributed to the genocide of those people. So the history certainly didn't start at the colonial time period, and I think we should be sensitive to that. The city of Wilmington, and particularly areas along the Brandywine Creek, are environmental justice communities. So race is a part of environmental justice. I know that probably makes people uncomfortable, but it's a reality. There are tools, there is data that documents from the EPA, from the White House Council of Environmental Quality, the environmental justice inequities along the Brandywine River. And these dams contribute significantly to that. There is a process for dam removal. The Army Corps of Engineers is responsible for managing waterways. There have been public notices, and the state is involved. It is a complicated process. I'm is frustrated with the DNREC and others in terms of getting information out. Groups like the Brandywine River Restoration Trust are filling a big gap in that and have shown a lot of effort to do that. But I'll give one example. There's a major a federal project, and that's the Port of Wilmington expansion at Edgemoor. So along the Delaware River from where the Brandywine goes into the Delaware all the way up to Edgemoor, you have the landfill, you have the wastewater treatment plant. So, you know, that's continuing environmental justice area. But the Army Corps of Engineers is part of their mitigation plan for further environmental impacts in that area. Finally, in my mind, promoted some of those restoration funds towards Wilmington. A lot of times those restoration dollars went downstate, where the state has really been spending their water resource restoration funds.
20 minutes.
Okay, so this is an ongoing environmental justice issues, and so that's important to consider. There's these dams contribute to flooding, which it's not just the physical flooding, but it also is the infrastructure flooding. There's millions and millions of dollars been allocated for dam removals across the country, and it really should be unimpeded recreational flow from Pennsylvania through the Brandywine to the Delaware River. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. We have anyone else? Okay. One more? We have one more person online. One more? Yes. Okay. So please state your name. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, Council. My name is Jen Parrish. I am Brandywine River Restorations Trust Program and Communication Manager. There have been so many wonderful comments tonight, and this dialogue has been wonderful. But this evening, I want to reiterate that granting BRRT access to remove dam number 6 is critical for all aquatic life in the river's health, and our friends and neighbors' well-being. There have been a few comments about transparency. So just regarding transparency, there have been significant and transparent community engagement with over 25 articles in the press, beginning as far back as 2019, and over 70,000 social media impressions. I actually think we're up to about 75,000 now, and public events, including Shad Fest, which a lot of you have attended over the past couple of years. More than 3,000 people have attended. So as far as transparency, I think I know we have been pretty transparent. And also we have, I think Jen mentioned that we have given the opportunities for discussions with communities. Those opportunities have been made available. I really have liked this evening the mention of historic value. I actually have been a member of the Middletown Historic Society, and that is history, right? We cannot recreate that. But there are times when things are dangerous, when a building, when a dam, when an area is dangerous and beyond fixable because it's deteriorating, that we have to look and say, is this history worth it? Can it withstand it? Also, we've had a couple other people touch on this regarding how the structure is not what it once was. What you're looking at is not the original dam number 6. Unfortunately, it is not. And unfortunately, with dam number 6, it is hurting our environment. It is hurting our river, and it's hurting the people of Wilmington when it comes to flooding and recreational opportunity. As I said during the last meeting, I really, truly encourage the council to not only consider the environmental, but also the human components and those who are disproportionately affected and the very real danger of dam number 6.
Thank you.
There's one more, Susan Kelly, they have one more.
Oh, we have one more, Susan. Could you state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
She on the line? She disappeared.
Susan? Maybe she left? Okay, maybe Susan's left. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? You have 3 minutes. State your name.
My name's Karen Igo. Thank you so much for letting us speak tonight. I am the program manager for Green Building United, which is a Philly-based nonprofit working on sustainability in the built environment. I am their Delaware program manager for community engagement. I've been working in Northeast Wilmington for the past 1.5 years, specifically funded by the Environmental Protection Agency and by the National Fish and Wildlife Service to help protect the community there from flooding. We've discussed here tonight kindness and respect. So I'm going to kindly and respectfully ask that the people in this room who are against this easement, please, and I don't like doing this, because Assata Shakur has told us that we will not become unoppressed by appealing to our oppressors. But I will honor this request for kindness and respect and say, please put yourselves in the shoes of people who live at the end of our city. When they flooded out, they lost their homes, and they lost their homes to water that was filled with sewage. They suffer post-traumatic stress disorder, and you're like, oh, whatever, maybe. No, like seriously, when it rains heavily, they are terrified.
Miss, could you talk to the committee, please?
They're terrified. I'm so sorry. I didn't know I was supposed to do that. So, you know, the transparency issue, you know, my son is 17. He has been to one Shad Fest, and when I told him where I was coming to this meeting, he's like, oh, you mean how they talked about the dams needing to be removed to help the shad? He got it in one time. I would like to think that maybe the people that are involved now with this did not ever go to Shad Fest. And maybe they don't read the newspaper or Delaware Online, because if they did, they would know about this issue. They would also know how greatly the people in Northeast suffered when this happened. There's tons of science on this. There's no reason for it to stay other than this political kind of blackmail that's happening. You know, and that's really kind of insidious. And I think we need to make sure we don't set a precedent that a group of people that really have nothing to lose, they have a video that they put out, and literally all it talks about is the colonial history of the dams. That's it. So you've got the colonial history of the dams, you've got people dying, people in sewer water.
25 seconds.
You've got shad suffering, all the other ecosystems in the river. You've got the experimental station. I mean, there's literally, it's completely out of balance. So if this were to go forward, it really sets a precedent and would be very telling. But, you know, I just really have a lot of confidence in our city council, because I know that y'all know we live in a majority black city. I don't actually live, I live on Route 9. I live in the county, I'll be honest. But I work in this community.
Time's up.
And I really hope that y'all will support this resolution.
Thank you so much. We have
Thank
one
you
more
so
speaker,
much.
and then we're going to move on the agenda. This is our last speaker, and we're going to move on the agenda. Thank you. State your name. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. My name is Marion Young, and I'm the owner of Brightfields, which is an environmental company in Wilmington on the 7th Street Peninsula. My job is environmental cleanup of contaminated soil and groundwater. And that contamination is left over from the Industrial Revolution. So for the past 27 years, I have worked on the Christina Riverfront, cleaning up all the messes from the Industrial Revolution so that new buildings and new streets, roads, parks, etc. could be built, and now we have a thriving riverfront. When I started that project, it was nothing but a dilapidated bunch of warehouses and, frankly, some heavy contamination of the soil. I work on a team that includes state, nonprofit, and many other businesses. Our goal is to revitalize properties like the riverfront and to revitalize the rivers themselves. As humans, we haven't had a very good record of treating the earth with kindness. We've polluted, we've dammed, we've done a lot of other things, injected chemicals into the ground, done a lot of other things that really are not healthy for ourselves or for any other creatures on the earth. The condition of our rivers in the 1960s and 50s was totally deplorable. Rivers catching on fire, floating with oil, horrendous. We've done a lot of work since then, since the EPA was created in the 1970s. We're moving along now from environmental investigation and cleanup of the worst of it into true environmental restoration. And that includes restoring our waterways. Restoration of the waterways involves restoring them to their native state. That means removal of dams.
1 minute.
It means planting of trees and shrubs and ecological habitat on the sides of the rivers, recreating the floodplains. It means restoring the animals, the fish, the mussels, and every other animal that colonized a river to their rightful place. I don't really think the humans need to dominate the whole world in a way that hurts every other creature. So I ask you to please go ahead and approve the removal of this dam with this easement so that we can start the restoration of the Brandywine. Another project I'm working on is the Christina and Brandywine remediation, restoration, and resilience project. And our goal there
5
is
seconds.
fishable and swimmable rivers in the shortest time frame possible.
Thank you. Done. This is so that concludes all of our comments, statements. I appreciate everybody really coming out. It's very positive dialogue. But this is a resolution, and it doesn't have to be voted at our committee. Marcia, when will this be on the agenda tomorrow? February 1st. Oh, this will be on the agenda February the 1st. Okay, this will be on the agenda February the 1st for third and final. I appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you. Have a good evening. Next, we have the resolution approving the grant. This is next is the resolution, right? Is that, that's for, together. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, she.
Good job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, could y'all take, could you go in the hallway? We're still in session.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Sure, thank you. Could you take your comments in the hallway? Excuse us, we're still having the meeting. Could y'all go in the hallway? Thank you. Okay, next we have ordinance 23039. This is an ordinance to amend chapter 36 of the city code, increasing the fine for resisting, interfering, and hindering parking regulation enforcement officers in discharging their duties. I am the sponsor of this, and I have a good one. I would like to speak a little on this resolution. I had two individuals come to me who work for the city of Wilmington. One lady was punched in the head by a resident and stated that she went to court by herself. No one showed up, and she was crying, etc. Another lady who's a Prio, these are Prios I'm talking about, her and the gentleman who drives the truck was on the west side, and a guy received a ticket and chased them down the street with a gun. I personally feel as though the PRIOs should be treated like police officers. That's their job, and they shouldn't have to be hit, cursed at, threatened, because they're doing their job. So I increased, I'm asking to increase the fine from $500 to $1,000. Do I have any committee members that have any questions or comments?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Sure. Councilman White?
The ordinance says up to 500.
Now, if you look on the back. I asked it to be increased. I don't see it up here to 1,000.
I mean, I agree, it should be $1,000. I just
Somebody made a typo here.
just want to make certain that that's what goes in front of council.
Thank you. I didn't see that. So the 1, 2, 3, the fourth whereas, face a fine up to 1,000. Thank you for noting that. That should be changed when we go on the floor.
And Madam Chair.
What's it- Am I missing something? The
If
face
I
of-
can just say that, Madam Chair, is that just saying what the current violation is just saying currently. It's currently, that's what it is currently. But on the back page, it's telling what it's going from the 500 to 1,000.
Okay. Oh, it's just saying what's in the current code? Well, it says currently, it does say currently, okay. Thank you. Do, Councilman Field, would you like to make comment? Fields, I'm sorry, Brigida.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, and to the rest of my colleagues. I just want to say, I've heard the same issues with, you call them PRIOs. I've heard the same issue with not just in the west side, which is on the west side of 95, but also in different parts of the city, in West Center City as well. I think this is where we begin to hold individuals accountable for how they treat the people that are here to work for them and work with them. So I'm in total agreement with this ordinance, and I would like to become a co-sponsor.
Thank you, Councilman Fields. Councilman Vince White would also like to be a co-sponsor of this.
Could I also be added as a co-sponsor?
Sure, we're going to, Councilman Nathan Field would also like to be a co-sponsor. Do I have any other council members on that would like to speak or be a co-sponsor? Okay.
Madam
Sure,
Chair,
go
follow up on another conversation. Your comments that these brave, well-serving PRIOs went to court regarding their assault. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
And that they had no city representation?
Well, I did speak to the law department regarding that, and it was an oversight that day. So it's normally someone from the AG or the city solicitor, someone should be there, but that particular day, somehow it was, no one was there. But they said that it's not a norm and it won't happen again.
Do we know what the I'll talk offline.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, because I wanted that in here, but it was removed because it was just one incident, because I thought someone should be there at all times. So it's funny you mentioned that. That was part of the legislation, but it was removed because we had a conversation. It said that's not the norm. So we need to keep our eyes open for that also in the future. If someone wants to amend it, if they hear of something else that occurs and someone goes to court and that no one's there to represent them, please.
Well, Madam Chair, since it's been brought up, I'd just like to get a written correspondence from law pertaining to that particular act and what the normal procedures would be, and have it entered into the record at our next council meeting.
Thank you. This is an ordinance, so it has to be voted out of committee. I don't have anyone on the committee like to speak, or anyone from the audience that would like to speak pertaining to this ordinance. There's no one else that'd like to speak. Is there a motion to move this out of committee?
Madam Chair, motion to move it out of committee.
Second.
And I'm like, not a problem.
Okay, it's been moved in second. The ordinance, it's been properly moved in second. The ordinance be voted out of committee. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carried. Can you tell us when this will be on the,
February 1st.
February the 1st? This will be on, February's 1st, city council meeting. And with that being said, that it ends the Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting for tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chair, so move a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Second.
Like $75, okay.
It's been moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carried. Thank you for attending the meeting.